As the media labels Trump a dictator, Colorado disqualifies him for running for president. Some say this is saving democracy. Others claim it's doing the opposite. And yet others ask, wait, you can do that? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Matt Ganejda, filling in today for Chris Chappell as he fights intergalactic snow dictators who want to conquer the earth. Speaking of dictators, some people consider Donald Trump to be an American version. The mainstream media certainly does, and it's going bonkers over the idea that a Trump dictatorship is increasingly inevitable. Yes, inevitable. Like an orange Thanos. This type of message really ramped up after Trump said he wouldn't be a dictator except for day one, which he explained as, I want to close the border and I want to drill, drill, drill. Which isn't nearly as bad as actions some other dictators take, like my third grade teacher confiscating my Game Boy. What's next, Mrs. Wheeler? Are you going to harvest my organs? Now, probably Trump said the dictator thing to get a reaction, but it seems like people who are already critical of Trump are taking everything that he says very, very seriously. It's almost like the mainstream media wants Trump to be a dictator. But don't worry, because there are ways to stop a Trump dictatorship. Some ways more extreme than others. Looking at you, Kathy Griffin. Crazies aside, one way to stop Trump is to disqualify him before people can vote for him. That's what the Colorado State Supreme Court did last week when it ruled Trump off the ballot ahead of the state's March 5th presidential primary. The Colorado State Supreme Court justified Trump's dismissal through its interpretation of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment in the U.S. Constitution. Keep in mind that different people interpret the Constitution in wildly different ways. Like, some people interpret the Second Amendment as we should only be allowed to have muskets, while some absolute lunatics thinks it gives them the right to own bear arms. You're going to need a lot of guns to collect those. Now, the 14th Amendment, which was made in response to the American Civil War, disqualifies people from being senators or electors of president and vice president, or hold any office, civil or military, in the United States if they engaged in insurrection or rebellion while holding office. The Colorado State Supreme Court argued that Section 3 that I just showed you applies to Trump as president, even though it doesn't explicitly mention a president being disqualified from running for re-election. Trump critics get around this by arguing that Trump, in being president, acted as an officer of the United States. But one law review article makes the case that the president does not count as an officer of the United States. It argues that the U.S. Constitution and the 14th Amendment consider officer of the U.S. and office under the U.S. to be completely different categories, with the president falling only into the second one. Trump's backers lean into this argument, saying that Section 3 disqualifies those who served as military officers and postmasters, not presidents. And as everyone knows, Trump didn't serve in the military or the post office, the two professions most likely to include firing guns at people. Now, unsurprisingly, those who want to disqualify Trump don't agree. A different law review article makes the case for disqualifying Trump, pointing out how it wouldn't make sense for Section 3 to make space for an insurrectionist president if it's not making space for any other kind of insurrectionist. The authors of the article see no significant difference between officer of the U.S. and office under the U.S. They argue that it makes logical sense to combine the two, saying something along the lines of, the office holder holding the office of president is an officer of the United States who holds office under the authority of the United States. Yep, this whole issue just boils down to semantics and pedantics. Who knew so much would be writing on what is essentially, actually? The Colorado Supreme Court's majority makes a similar case, concluding that the president is an officer of the United States. The ruling partially overturns an earlier Denver District Court decision that found that Trump engaged in insurrection, but could not be disqualified from election ballots in Colorado. That ruling had huge repercussions, though, because it helped justify the Colorado Supreme Court's claim that Trump engaged in insurrection. But this is also potentially very problematic. I'll tell you why after the break. Welcome back. People are doing their absolute best to get Trump off the ballot through any means necessary. Any means necessary. According to Citizens for Ethics, Donald Trump is the living embodiment of the threat that the 14th Amendment's framers sought to protect American democracy against when they barred constitutional oathbreakers from office. Trump is a Confederate soldier from the Civil War? Man, he really is too old to be president. That's why media outlets like The Nation cheered the Colorado court ruling, arguing that the 14th Amendment is the constitutional remedy for Trump's assault on democracy. Biden himself chimed in, saying there's no question Trump supported an insurrection. No question? There's definitely at least a question, and that question is, did he though? Whether you're a fan of Trump or not, it's kind of concerning how the Colorado Supreme Court determined that Trump engaged in insurrection, because the FBI, after a very lengthy actual investigation, was not able to find evidence that the U.S. Capitol attack was coordinated, and therefore it did not meet the most basic definition of insurrection. But why leave it up to federal agencies or like the dictionary to decide what counts as insurrection when you can just have local judges do it themselves? The Colorado State Supreme Court did just that. It argues that it didn't need to adapt a single all-encompassing definition of the word insurrection to claim that Trump committed an insurrection. Rather, it suffices for us to conclude that any definition of insurrection for the purposes of Section 3 would encompass a concerted and public use of force or threat of force by a group of people to hinder or prevent the U.S. government from taking the actions necessary to accomplish a peaceful transfer of power in this country. Wait, but doesn't concerted use of force suggest that it was coordinated by a group of people, which the FBI said it wasn't? So the Colorado Supreme Court is pedantic when it comes to interpreting the Constitution, but all loosey-goosey when it comes to interpreting the word insurrection. Man, that is really annoying. I'm so glad I'm not in their book club. Now, all that being said, even if the Colorado Supreme Court has the grounds to keep Trump off the ballot in that state, it wouldn't guarantee that Trump's out of the picture. The end of Section 3 states that Congress could vote to remove an insurrectionist's ineligibility to run by a vote of 2/3. Just kidding. When has 2/3 of Congress ever agreed on something? So is barring Trump really saving democracy? People like former Colorado Republican Majority Leader Norma Anderson, who petitioned for Trump's dismissal, would like you to think so. She says she brought this case to protect the right to free and fair elections enshrined in our Constitution and to ensure Colorado Republican primary voters are only voting for eligible candidates. Yes, it was actually a Republican who petitioned to get Trump off the primary ballot. And even more shocking, that Republican wasn't just Ron DeSantis in a fake mustache. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, President Noah Bookbinder, likewise says the Colorado Supreme Court decision is necessary to protect the future of democracy in the U.S. But there's a reason a lot of election officials rejected calls to block Trump from the ballot, and why state courts like Michigan and Minnesota have yet to rule Trump out. Rather than rely on government officials to determine who should or shouldn't lead the U.S., doesn't it set a better precedent to let the American citizens choose for themselves? You know, maybe vote on it in an election of some sort? If only there were one of those coming up soon. Well, that's why a lot of people see the Colorado ruling to block Trump as an assault on democracy, which is the very thing that Trump critics say they're protecting. It kind of gives off, "We did it, Patrick, we shaved a city" vibes. Even some Trump critics, like Georgia's Secretary of State, say they can't keep Trump off the ballot, believing that invoking the 14th Amendment is merely the newest way of attempting to short-circuit the ballot box. Despite these concerns, some states like New York and California are feeling inspired to remove Trump from their ballots. But here's the bigger danger, at least for Trump critics. Colorado's ruling is feeding into Trump's martyrdom narrative. It's already encouraging even more distrust in American political institutions, especially among Trump supporters. People are aware of this, which is why even Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom is warning against Trump bans. The same goes for media outlets that aren't all that friendly with Trump. One LA Times column warns that striking Trump from the ballot is a boost for his campaign, and a CNN column calls the 14th Amendment gambit breathtakingly foolish. Foolish, yes, but not as breathtaking as Keanu Reeves. Because the more court cases and adversity that get thrown Trump's way, the higher he keeps rising in the polls, It's almost like the media is trying to get him elected. If more states kick him off the ballot, then Trump will truly be as inevitable as Orange Thanos. Now, perhaps you might be feeling angry at God for allowing all this negativity and wish he didn't exist. But you might have a new perspective after watching this video from our new show, Deep Thoughts While Gaming, about what the Japanese game Okami says about the Age of Enlightenment. And please support America Uncovered on Patreon. I can promise you that we won't fund the destruction of democracy, just more awesome episodes. Click the orange button to contribute. Once again, I'm Matt Gnezda. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.